Hi, my name is Dylan, and the movie I decided to do this project over is WALL-E. WALL-E is one of those movies that you think is so ridiculous with its plot that many cast it aside as a story that is too out there and completely a product of fiction. However, 17 years after its release date, I feel it is far more relevant now than it ever has been. The characters of WALL-E and Eve may be cute, but in terms of what we're talking about today, they are only a distraction from the society that has been created from a monopolistic marketing and control. By and large is the brand that is seen everywhere within the film, WALL-E. Its branding is inescapable, whether on Earth or aboard the Axiom ship. You cannot take a turn without seeing that large B&L logo plastered on everything. It sets up quite a dystopian world that the main characters find themselves in. You can heavily relate to this in modern day with how much we see big corporations and logos infused into everyday life. Try and go outside for 10 minutes and not find a sign of Starbucks or McDonald's or Apple or any of these corporations. It's heavily shown in the movie and in real life now that these logos are so ingrained in our culture that we sometimes don't even give them a second glance. One of the major parallels seen is the heavy reliance on screens and technology to get the new products across to consumers. In the film, large TVs hooked up to floating chairs are used to display daily messages to users and sell limited new items to people aboard the Axiom. You can directly relate this to the notifications people get on their phones today. The omnipresence of digital marketing nowadays is everywhere thanks to every walking, talking human being having a supercomputer in their pocket that is constantly trying to sell you something. It's disguised as being a choice everyone can make when really it was decided for you a long time before you went through with the decision. Another direct parallel that can be made to modern day is the importance of convenience within the consumer. In WALL-E, all of the people aboard the Axiom ship float on flying chairs that are meant to keep them from doing any kind of physical activity whatsoever and keep them as comfortable and smooth as possible. This can also be seen nowadays with the presence of the need of omni-channels and the need to make the purchasing pipeline as streamlined as possible. So many businesses are trying to make their in-person stores and online stores as exact as can be, so there's not a confusion within the customer base and doesn't inhibit anyone from purchasing the product they want, no matter how minute the detail. The need for a consumer to feel no discomfort with making a purchasing decision is one of the most important aspects of the marketing industry nowadays, and it was displayed incredibly well within the movie WALL-E. Another parallel that can be seen within the film is culture being mono in the way that it's shown, and no individuality being seen within the consumer base. I mentioned earlier that some decisions are being made before you even make them. While in WALL-E, each person aboard the Axiom wears the same kind of clothes, eats the same kind of food, and does the same kind of action day after day without ever even noticing it. The way that this happened is because B&L was able to show any kind of change as unique towards the individual, while in reality, it showed all of those exact changes to everyone else aboard the ship. Like, for example, halfway through the movie, they say that they have red suits that turn to blue because they're like, hey, brand new suits, blue, why don't you try them? And then within about 5 to 10 seconds, everyone aboard the ship is already in blue suits, trying to match a trend. Something else I will bring up is the emotional effect marketing can have on a consumer base shown within this movie. In WALL-E, by and large is shown to be the savior of humanity, as it kept everyone aboard the ship alive past the extinction of Earth and will, supposedly, continue to keep them alive and safe as they try to find a new home amongst the stars, even if that home is not necessarily telegraphed to them. The humans aboard the ship have never known a life without by and large, so they have no reason to think that the company would ever do them any kind of harm or try to deceive them. Today, companies like Amazon do everything in their power to show that their brand is a way of life and a way forward for the future. Specifically with Amazon, you can buy anything through Amazon Prime. You can watch anything through Amazon Prime. You can even have everything ordered to you within a day because of their services. You could theoretically live entirely off Amazon products and you would still be able to survive. Now, whether it be eco-centric cars by Tesla or potential rockets to Mars by Amazon, these corporations are doing everything in their power to show they can cure Earth's current problems and be the answer to every one of their customers' problems when that isn't realistic or possible for the business. The last thing I feel is worth focusing on is the overwhelming use of technology and AI assistance seen within the society aboard the Axiom. Robots are constantly everywhere aboard the ship and are used for every little need, from being umbrellas to cleaning up small scuff marks on the floor to replacing batteries in Eve droids that are sent to Earth. Without technology, the people aboard the ship would be completely lost and would not know how to survive because it is all they have ever been exposed to. I believe that a similar outcome would happen if all technology were to be removed from modern-day society, as everyone relies on the usefulness and effectiveness of the technology to keep the world revolving. I mean, think about it. If technology were removed from our society as we have it, we would have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people would be without a job within moments. People would not be able to communicate anymore as they used to. They would have to rely on other means that are more tactile. In my opinion, if technology were removed from today's society, our society would fall into complete chaos. I mean, that's what we tried to stop with Y2K back in the 90s, and how much people were so worried about technology ruining the world then. Imagine how it would be now, and imagine how it would be 700 to 800 years or so in the future when WALL-E is set. AI is also on the rise as a way to make things easier and simpler for consumers to get exactly what they want. Again, even more of a parallel to WALL-E, where the robots are meant to stand and sit and work day in and day out just to serve the humans, just so they can remain mindless in the way that they live their lives. AI, in my opinion, is possibly a way we could be moving towards that future. If we're not careful with the tools, it may be something that ends up ruling us before we rule it. AI being on the rise, it's a small step to what could eventually be relying on AI in current life and every day, and businesses will be forced to adapt with them or be left in the dust. BNL used robots and AI to their advantage, and they became the sole survivor and sole company to take care of humanity past the Earth's supposed expiration date before they came back to the planet. They adapted. They adapted, and they found a way to survive even past the Earth. So that's what other businesses are going to have to do to be able to do the same, especially if they want to compete with other rival businesses. The best way I can describe the allegory of marketing in WALL-E is that it's a dramatized but deeply rooted in realistic practices and modern dilemmas. The movie was made in 2008, and you can see how it took influence from the rise in cell phones and technology at the time, and how the creators used it to show a potential dystopian future. Even with 17 years between the debut of the film and now, many of its elements shown in how the company markets to people within the movie and how society receives it as a whole can be seen directly in day-to-day life between all of us. We can only hope that we never go as far as WALL-E did, but if history is any proof, art is merely a telescope of the future, and we can only look through it before we have any chance to even remotely try to stop it.
All right. Thank you.